Hi everybody, welcome to Bike Revs. I'm Mark and this is the Isle of Man. Now I returned from the 2024 TT a week or so ago and picked up some tips along the way from my trip, not least of all about coping with the good old British weather. So stay tuned, and if you're planning a trip to see the races, this might just give you some ideas, and it's particularly important right now because very soon they will confirm the dates for the 2025 races, and once that happens, you really need to be in a queue for your tickets. So here goes. Now, we booked just over a year ago in 2023 for this year's tickets. Me and my mate, Two-Stroke Dave, decided to go as foot passengers. Well, he hasn't got a bike that can make it from Gloucester to Liverpool, so we went to Duke Travel and bought our package trip. Now, I'm not sponsored or have any affiliation with Duke Travel, but credit where it's due, they were fantastic. I mean, really good, right? We went with them back in 2019, which was great, but this time, even better. Their support is good too. I called to change something on my ticket and ended up chatting to the lady at the other end for 20 minutes about the island and the races. Now, you don't get that very often. So the package was ferry out, transfer from Douglas Port to the Isle of Man TT Village, 3 nights stay with exceptional breakfasts. We also got grandstand tickets for the first day and then VIP tickets to the Miltown estate on the second day, including more excellent food. Then there was the goodie bag with a little rucksack, a hat, a USB charger, magazines, a pass for the public transport, and of course there was the trip back on the ferry. Now the whole thing was absolutely faultless. So let's get into it, and you might even see some racing. Okay, this is our boat from the Steam Packet Company, and it's a very fast catamaran. It's quite new and it's very, very nice. But we got there an hour and a half before, as per the instructions, and were taken to this waiting room for foot passengers and told that there was tea, coffee, and snacks. What there actually is 4 vending machines which only take cash. I mean, who carries cash? And I think most of them were empty anyway. So here we are on the boat. You can see how quick the boat is, and it's really nice to watch out the back. But of course, we spent most of our time here, which was the bar area. And then once we arrived at the port, the Duke Travel people were there to meet us, put us on a minibus, and then we arrived in the Isle of Man TT Village. I'll show you around this a little bit more in a minute, but you can see there are loads of bikes here, and we went through into the reception area you can see in front of you, where we got free tea and coffee 24/7. We were given the initial sort of briefing and the welcome pack, and then sent off to our rooms. Now, the next morning, there was a little bit of cloud in the skies, a little bit windy, but it's looking okay for racing maybe. And these are the accommodation blocks that we're in. So this is the Isle of Man TT Village. Individual like containers. We were in number 34. And I've got to say, it was really nice. It doesn't look great from the outside. You kind of go, ooh, what? But once you get inside, it's actually quite luxurious. And here it is. So you got the 2 beds. You can see behind me there's a door, which is where there's a bathroom, toilet and sink. Lots of space to put your kit. It was very clean, very tidy. It was warm, dry, and they provide you with towels which they come in and change every day, so you couldn't really ask for more. So outside again, and there are all these information sheets that tell you everything about the Isle of Man TT. Over to the left hand side, a little bit further up, is where the paddocks are, where they prepare all the bikes, and then the grandstand as well. So everything is just within walking distance. And here we are at the iconic grandstand. This is quite early in the morning, not too many people around. On the right hand side, you'll see some metal structures, which is where they put the fuel tanks ready to fill the bikes up. And we're just walking along, taking it all in really, just waiting for the weather reports. But as you can see, it is a little bit cloudy, so we're not really sure whether there's going to be any racing at this point. Bikes are starting to build up, and you can see plenty of bikes over there. People are riding around, doing laps of the track, which we'll come on to in a minute, but just bear in mind, there is pretty much a police officer at every corner of the road with a speed gun, until you get onto the mountain pass, where the speed limits are a bit more open. So there we are, that's the main road that goes around the Isle of Man, which is also the racing track. Now, by this stage, we pretty much heard that there wasn't going to be any racing that day. The weather forecast was not that good, so we went up to see Dave's son Harry, who just so happens to be a helicopter pilot, and he flies the helicopters which have all the TV cameras on them. So Harry was kind enough to show us around and showed us all the features of these marvellous machines. Now, unfortunately, we couldn't have a ride in this for 2 reasons. Firstly, because it's a commercially chartered helicopter, which means you can't take passengers along on joyrides, and secondly, because there was no actual racing, so there was nothing to go up and film. But that's the camera you can see on the front there. Now, Harry not only is a helicopter pilot, it turns out he's also a pretty decent driver. So he took us out in his Ford Focus and we did a lap of the TT track. Here we are up on the mountain. On the mountain, the speed limits are pretty open. I think you can go as fast as you like as long as you're being sensible, and the traffic is turned into one-way traffic during race weeks. So we got on the road and we overtook a Gix 1000 in our Ford Focus, and then we overtook a CBR of some sort. So we were going along at a fair pace. It was great fun, and as I say, you can use both sides of the road at this point. And here we have some bikes coming up behind us. We were stuck behind someone else, so they managed to overtake us. And again, you can see us on the right-hand side of the road, just purely because it's now one-way traffic and you're allowed to do that. So there we go, that's one bike overtaking us. Everyone's having a great time up there and being pretty sensible. But after that, we came down into Douglas Harbour. It's not really what you come to the TT for, is it? But you can probably see off in the distance all those dark clouds, and that brought rain, so we had to do it. Anyway, we went to the Paddocks after that, and we peeked in through one of the windows, and we saw Peter Hitman just chilling out. We also saw John McGuinness flying around on a little moped as well, and we saw Hickey's bikes. We saw lots of bikes. We saw lots of famous people, although I've got to be honest, I didn't know who some of them were. There was also this, which is the crashed sidecar from a couple of days ago, which is a complete write-off, and they were having a whip round to try and buy a new one, so we gave them a couple of quid. And then back out to the road, and you can see now it's really starting to build up with bikes. Loads and loads of different bikes. Now, an interesting point for anyone out there who's got a Speed Triple RS 1200 like me, I didn't see a single one parked up. I saw thousands of bikes, but not a single RS. I don't really know what that's telling me, but I would have thought they were more popular. Anyway, lots of other bikes to look at. You'll see coming up on the left there's a couple of Triumphs. I think they're either Speed Triple 1050s or Street Triples. But like I say, didn't see anything like mine there at all with all these thousands of bikes. Anyway, there's no racing on, and you can only spend so much time looking at other people's bikes. So we went back to the Isle of Man TT Village, grabbed ourselves some tea and biscuits, had a quick freshen up, and then we headed off into Douglas, the capital. We had a great night out. Everybody's really friendly and wants to talk, and it was capped off by the Red Arrows that turned up and gave us a display. So we didn't stay out too late that night. In fact, we had to get back because the bus was leaving at 7:30 in the morning to take us to Miltown for our VIP access to the estate. So early to bed that night. So the morning bus journey up to Miltown took about 3/4 of an hour, and during that time we had a guide from Duke Travel who told us everything we'd ever wanted to know and more about the Isle of Man. However,
okay, here we are. It's the last day of the TT. Haven't seen any racing yet. I've been here for 2 days, but the sun is shining, as you can see. Hopefully, the racing's about to start in an hour. Until then, we've got the tent, all the refreshments. We're here in Miltown in the estate. We've got the VIP pass, and we're just enjoying ourselves. But come on, let's have some racing.
Now, racing was supposed to start at 10:30 on this day, but then we got news that it was going to be 11 o'clock because there were areas where the track hadn't dried up yet. And then 11:30, 12, 12:30, so it went on. So we spent time wandering around doing all sorts of things, having a look at the wall where we would be standing. Were there any bikes going past? We played the world's hardest game of giant Jenga. We also saw some vintage cars and some unique vintage motorbikes. As we continued to wander around attempting to amuse ourselves, we got some more news. And then this happened. finally got to see some racing and it was awesome. Honestly, I've seen so much footage, but nothing can do it justice. You're only a few feet away from a superbike doing 170 miles an hour on a standard road, and I've never known anything like it. Unfortunately, Peter Hickman crashed out at Ginger Hall, and that was the end of the racing. Michael Dunlop is crowned as the most successful and probably grumpiest Isle of Man TT rider in history, and everybody begins to leave the island. We're there for another night and hit the town once more before the ferry home. So my top tips are these. Firstly, a recommendation for Duke travel. I can't fault them. And secondly, plan a trip to visit the island, not just to see a race. There's loads to do and see, but you can't book the weather. So you have to have a backup plan and be prepared to miss some races because it does love to rain over there. Well, that's about all from me. Keep your chains oiled and I will see you all next time.